Hi, guys. Welcome to Sonali's book club conversation. And I have a very interesting author in conversation with me today. We are at that time of the, or those, one of that time of the year when you have the best athletes in the world competing with each other, which is the Olympics. We missed the Olympics last year. So they are happening in 2021, are being called the 2020 Olympics. But it's exciting. You're getting up to see these amazingly talented people, best in the world, competing with each other. There is a lot of joy, there is some heartbreak, and there are so many stories coming out of it. So I thought it was the best time to kind of introduce you to an author who himself has had a journey in Olympics. And the book that I'm talking about is called Riding Free. And Riding Free, My Olympic Journey. And the author is Imtiaz Anees. Before I talk to him further, I do want to kind of set the tone to it by reading out a few lines. Just bear with me. It's a slightly long passage, but I think it kind of sets the tone for the conversation. I set out to write this account of my journey to a distant and much desired destination because I believe that many young people can achieve what I did. Yes, I came from a fairly privileged background and I had a lot of support from my parents, but I still had to step out of my comfort zone to go after what I wanted and slog away at it. Hard work beats talent anytime, I believe. From my own experiences, I've distilled whatever I can to offer as a recipe for how to go about achieving one's heart's desire, however ridiculous that desire may sound at the outset to us. If there are sacrifices to be made, make them. Nothing is easy. I gave up the many comforts of home, family, and friends to wander like a nomad from competition to competition, from city to city, at home and abroad in order to accumulate the experience needed before I attempted the Olympics. I was single-minded and focused, and I believed in myself and my ability to achieve my goal. At the same time, I took the help of those willing and able to give it because you cannot do everything on your own. I had people around me who pushed me hard and encouraged me personally and professionally. Even if at times they thought I was attempting more than I could achieve. They did not just tell me what I wanted to hear, but genuinely wanted to help me reach my destination. Despite all that, there were setbacks and failures, and though cast down temporarily, I had the courage to put them aside and forge ahead and not give way to despair or feel too sorry for myself for too long. It is so easy to be discouraged, to think everything is against you, but you will find that the universe comes together and works for you if you're sincere and want something badly enough. I believe you also need a stubborn streak in your character that will simply not let you back down or give up easily. There is no other reason behind why I refused to pack up and go home when I learned that I had not even made the shortlist of the Olympic entry. I had kept that flame of self-belief alive too long to let it be extinguished so quickly. To anyone who wants to reach for stars, I would say believe in yourself, keep the fire burning, work hard, and make it happen. I know it's a long passage that I have started with. The sport I'm talking about is not something that all of us are very, very familiar with. In our country, we have a lot of sports, but a couple of sports take precedence over everything else. I wanted to talk about this paragraph was also because this paragraph tells you a story, which can be a story of an Olympian. It could be a story of any athlete. It could be a story of anybody trying to achieve their dreams. And that is the beauty of this book. Though it is written by a sports person, an Olympian, this is so applicable to all of us, to our times, and yes, of course, to the sport. So I'm talking about the book called Riding Free, My Olympic Journey by Imtiaz Anees. And here it is. I love that horse and the expression on it. But this is not a book that a lot of us, unless we are associated with a sport like that we would pick up. And that's the reason why I'm starting with this long passage, to tell you that I think this is a book that can get us thinking. And though we don't know much about the sport, it's time we got to know about it more. And I think there's no better way to know more about it than from the author himself. Imtiaz, welcome to SBC. I normally don't take so long before I start off the conversation, but I think this book deserved it. So you've spoken about in your book about how you sort of inherited riding from both the sides of your family. Am I right about that?
Yes.
And you say competitiveness was your contribution to it. So what do you think it was? Was it nature, nurture? Where do you think it came from?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it because, as you said, your audience is mainly people who read all kinds of books. So it was wonderful for you to say that this book is not only just for sports people or for questions. It is for in any facet of your life. To be honest, I don't even know where it came from. I think it was just a desire to represent India. Ever since I was young, I would watch the Olympics and I would watch sporting events, and I was always excited about it. So I would actually give victory speeches, and I would be thanking people. And I had a podium in my house, and I would stand on it every day. And be talking to myself. Most young kids sang in the bathroom or they talked to themselves there. For me, it wasn't that. So ever since I was young, everywhere I would go, I would write down people's names who helped me do whatever I did because I thought I must remember them in my victory speech. So
that's the height of visualization. Without being told, you were manifesting it.
Yes. I mean, ever since I was young. I mean, I didn't even know which sport at that time. When you're that young, you don't know which sport. I was like, I used to ride, but I never even thought that question could be an option. And as years went by, I was a very good athlete because I love sports. I was a very good runner, and it was Carl Lewis. If people may remember, he had won 5 gold medals. I said, if he can win 5, I can definitely do 1. I bought the spikes. I would train every day. Then I realized I wasn't fast enough. Then, as time went back, I was a very good swimmer. I swam for school. I swam for college. So I thought swimming, that's my calling. Maybe I could be a swimmer. Mark Spitz was there. He won 9 gold medals. I should idolize these people. Every day I would look at them, watch them. Then I realized, I'm not going to make the swimming cut. It's not going to happen. But so horses always stuck with me throughout. And
what do you mean by stuck with you?
Well, it always was a part of me, but at the back, because I didn't know how it could be possible. And like in life, the right people come into your life, and I was just fortunate enough during all these things that were happening to me, a coach and mentor came into my life. So I was very lucky because how you get a lot of expats come to India. So there was a expat who came to India who was one of the top riders in England. And when she came to Bombay, she was lost. She didn't know, can you imagine coming from England countryside to the mayhem in Mumbai. So she got to know my mother. My mother really looked after her and, helped her. And, so we, became like family. And I was very, very young. And, this is quite, it's written in the book as well. So I'm giving snippets of the book. But I was 11 years old and she started teaching me. And I always said, when I grow up, I want to become like Diana, because she was extremely well read, extremely well traveled, so you could look up to her on different, she was like the true sense of a mentor and a coach. And she took me from 11 to the Olympic Games. So so she stuck with me. So you can imagine the dedication that this lady had of just coming as an expat to India without any exchange of money, absolutely nothing. She just, fell in love with the city, fell in love with India, fell in love with my mom, and just decided, wow, look at this boy. He's absolutely crazy. He's got this dream, which is absolutely impossible. But if he believes in it so much, I'm going to try and help him make it happen.
So you talk about Mumbai, but you went to a boarding school. Can you tell us a bit more about the boarding school?
Well, I went to boarding school, Lawrence School, Sanaa. It's a very old school, spawned in 1847 up in the hills in Simla. And, it's so gorgeous and so beautiful. And it's, up in the foothills of the Himalayan ranges. But as a young boy, you don't look at it, you don't see that aspect at all. On that end, I was so young. I was only 12 years old. And I was, the first few years were very tough. But when I look back, it made me who I am. It made us resilient. It made us strong. It made us, depend upon our friends because it's not easy. I was, as I said, a little privileged, a little boy from Mumbai. I was 12 years old. I loved my horses. I loved my family. My family and me were very close. And to be just sent away, I was thought it was like a punishment first, So I would say, no, I promise you I will not ride, or I promise you I will, eat all my vegetables, or I promise you I'll do all my schoolwork, because I didn't know what the reason was, But their bigger thinking was to make a man out of me, And that's the reason why they sent me to boarding school.
Yeah. So how did it lay the foundation for you, this boarding school experience where the sport is concerned?
Because it teaches you, sport teaches you so much more than just the actual game. So boarding school really taught me that, whether you're down, whether you're out, whether you're not winning, it doesn't matter. It's about finishing. It's about showing up to work. You got to get up in the morning, make your bed, discipline. One of the most important things for us, our kids today, is discipline.
Get up and show up.
Yes, absolutely. Big believer of
This
that.
pandemic time nowadays, they don't have to go very far to show up, but to get up and to sit
Yes,
there and show up.
right. That's why I
Yes.
tell people, even in the pandemic time, get up, make your bed, dress up, and then do your meetings. It's just that because you're online or you're on the Zoom or sometimes only audio, don't be in your pajamas. You know what I mean? Respect yourself, respect your time, respect the person you're going to meet. So, as if
so easy to say it, but tell a
I know.
teenager that
Oh, it's very hard.
it is hard. Yeah, I'm sure you're saying this now, but your mother must have faced the same problem.
Yes.
Or maybe the boarding school got you to do it. But did you do it? Come home from boarding? I want to know that.
No, you did it to a certain extent because it became a way of life. That's what boarding school is about. Whenever I tell people to whatever they do, make it a way of life. Not like you just do it for the competition, or you just do it to make your mom and dad happy, or you just do it for, you do it for the wrong reasons. Then people say, oh, well, it didn't work. No. It didn't work because you didn't make it your way of life.
Yeah. Oh my God. Listen, this needs to be sunken in. You didn't work because you didn't make it the way of your life. And that is so true about everything. Whatever you want to achieve, be it health.
Yes.
It's where I'm concerned. This is what I'm realizing, that it has to be the way of life. And the moment it becomes a way of life, suddenly the journey starts becoming interesting rather than the end goal. And
absolutely, because who knows what the end result was? Even for me, I may not have got to the Olympic Games, but at least I lived that journey.
So can you take us a little more through this journey? Horses, boarding school, a mentor who has just dropped in, and it all sounds like a fairy tale in that sense.
It actually was a fairy tale. That's why the book has a little bit of, lots of failures. And sometimes people might think, oh my God, this fellow's written this book and he's had more failures than successes. That's what life is all about, It doesn't, you have to go and get things. It doesn't come to you on a silver platter. You can't sit and say, well, I did A, so C should happen. It doesn't work like that. If C didn't happen, go and get it.
So tell me, you left from Mumbai, you went to boarding. You said you were happy with your horses and your family over here. Now your horses were here. How many horses were there?
No, I only had one horse, two horses at that time, because when I went to boarding school. But on the holidays I would come back and I would ride every morning and every evening. And Diana was in Mumbai at that time, so I would train with her in the morning, train with her in the evening. It became, as I said, we did as much as I could, but then I was sent off again to boarding school, which was hard because you were upset because leaving family, leaving
Did you miss family more or your horses more?
Yeah, that's a very good question because, we have in the boarding school, we had a very small desk, just about fit our books, but I always had a picture of my horse on it, and everybody had a picture of their parents. And when it came to my desk, was a picture of my horse. So even till today, everybody laughs at me. They said, we all had our mom and dad's picture out there, and you had Rajesh's picture. Even my school friends today still remember Rajesh as my first horse.
Your horse was called Rajesh?
Yes. He was my first horse.
First horse was Rajesh. And what about the other?
Oh, I had so many lovely, lovely horses. And each one played an important role in my whole journey. And that's what the whole book, it goes through. And, when somebody said, how did you write the book? I'm sure, I'm jumping the question. But, to get the chronological events, it really was the horses that wrote the book. Because each horse had a story to it. Each horse, I was able to do something else with. And that's how the story grew and how I got closer and closer to my goal.
So we definitely want to know all the stories, but we can't let our members know about it all in just this conversation. We want to read the book, but at least can you start with the first horse? I want to know Rajesh a little more now.
So it was wonderful. I was only 6 years old, and I used to ride. But all the riding, the amateur riders club, there was the riding school horses, and my grandfather had this horse called Rajesh. He was a grey, beautiful looking white horse, really lovely. Now in equestrian, we don't say white, we say gray. That's why. So I'm just telling the viewers, but it was very strong. And he had thrown my grandfather off. He had thrown my mother off. She had broken a collarbone. He's thrown my sister off, everybody in the family. And I was only 6 years old. So they protected me. And I used to go into stable every day and hug him and kiss him and brush him and clean him. I was never allowed to ride him because I was too small. And then I would every day ask, when can I ride Rajesh? When can I ride Rajesh? And everybody said, no, he'd run away with you. He'd throw you off. And just out of really arm twisting, they allowed me one day. And I was only 6 years old. I was so excited. And about 200 instructions come. Don't do this, hold your rein like that, be careful. As soon as I got onto him, it was like we were both one. You know what I mean? I just forgot everybody else and I took him out for a ride, and we just bonded from day one. And I won my first competition on him my first event when I was only 6 years old, and those days they didn't have under 6 or under 10 like how you have now. It was under 15 or under 20, you know, and under 18. So I was competing with all literally, teenagers. But with me and Rajesh, we were unstoppable. We never lost anything. We just, when we were there, he just looked after me, and we would be galloping flat out. I mean, I was so little. I wish I could show you some pictures there in the book.
We all heard these stories about the horse and the rider connection. And, for me, because you read about them and, you think that, okay, it's a story. But here you are, you're actually saying that this was a horse that was throwing everybody off. And this man and horse and feeling one. This kind of a feeling when you say, I mean, what is this? This is real. That means
absolutely.
Does this need to happen with every horse? If you win a competition, does this oneness have to be there?
You need some sort of one. You need some sort of connection. And that's why I tell the youngsters today, spend more time with your horses. Unfortunately, this is a big problem with our sport. Now I'm going to talk a little technical, is with the kids today, they go to the riding club, the horse is ready, tacked up, they ride and get off and they go home. They have never spent any time with that horse. I used to ride, go back to the stable, give him a bath, give him a wash. My parents had to drag me out of the stable, literally, and pull me. But I would be in the stable the whole time. In fact, many times they've left me at the club and gone home thinking that, I was already in the car. But actually, I was stuck in Rajesh's stable because I was talking to him. So we don't spend enough time with our animals. And we need that connection.
You think that's the only one thing? Or, just forming that connection by spending time with them? Or is it because obviously, that Rajesh being your first horse at the age of 6, and then the journey from there to Olympics. So obviously there have been a couple of horses that, have been on this journey with you.
Yes.
And are you trying to say that you could form this connection with all of them?
Yes. Amazing. I had a fabulous connection with all, and each of them did some, like the horse I rode at the first Asian Games, or the first horse that I rode at my first international event, or the horse that I won my first event. They all had a connection with me because of the connection. You have got to spend, and you got to feel that relationship, because if you don't have that, you can't be at your best, because we as competitors, it's not only about us. We have a horse that competes with us. So we both, it's like, just to give it just break it up only for your viewers, it's like a cricketer going into bat with somebody else's bat. It's not the same. He knows the weight, he knows how the handle feels, he knows everything. So that's how close that connection is, So when you ride a horse, it's really important.
Logistics of carrying this bat, that means, to say, oh my God.
Yes. So it's, you have to have that bond. You got to have that connection. Now, sometimes it's not, you don't have to have it as much if it's a low level competition, but as the intensity grows, it's all about the connection that you have with your animal, and then both have to train together extremely hard to get fit. So it's not only, in every other sport, it's only you, so you can get yourself fit, while here we have to get our horses fit as well.
So there is the way I'm jumping a bit, but today when you train, athletes and you want to get into this sport, what you're saying is that when they come for training, even if you don't have a horse of your own, there is a certain amount of training that is necessary for you separately and for the horse separately then?
Absolutely. Because what happens that you're not always the same level as your horse. So a lot of these kids, who are coming up the rank, it's very hard to teach the horse and the rider. So a lot of times we call them school masters. They're already very good horses that we've trained, and then hoping that the rider catches up to the horse. And then we mix the two horses together and make them, it's like a marriage, literally. You know what I mean? There are lots of very good riders who just didn't, it's not their ride. It's not their type of a horse. They didn't find the connect. And that's why they haven't been very successful. As soon as you change the horse, boom, suddenly they start winning competitions, because everybody...
How do you decide that, okay, this is not me, that's wrong, but the connection is not there and I need to change the horse? How do you do that? You can change a bat, like you said.
Yes.
How do you do that to an animal? Because anybody who rides has to have some sort of a love for the animal. So just to change that, it must be hard.
No, it is hard. But, as when you become a competitor, you have to look at what's best for you and what's best for the horse. Now, it's not that you just abandon these horses, you know what I mean? So at the top level, when you're traveling and you're competing, usually you build that relationship. But for whatever reason, if the relationship is not where you want it to be, then you move on and that horse goes to somebody else who may build the same relationship and reach the top, So it's not that, it's just a matter of the right equation. That goes with the sport. It's a lot of technical side from that way, but the idea is that you've got to be in one with the animal. That's what our sport is so special. And it's a sport where there's no strength and stamina involved, like the other sports, like running and athletics. You need strength, you need stamina. Here we don't. It's tact, it's finesse. That's why it's the only sport in the world where men and women compete at par. So, that's what makes it so special.
Oh my God.
That's what makes it so special. There's no men's category and women's category. In fact, the top riders in the world are women.
Yes, that's true, but I haven't seen too many of these, but I never thought that there was no difference between the men and women. That's amazing. Oh my God.
And that's why I feel the sport is even more apt for Indians because of that. I hate to say it in that way, but where there's stamina and there's strength involved, it's difficult for us. Our nutrition, our weather, our conditions, it is difficult. That's why, people it's the West is far ahead of us. But here in sports like this, or in shooting or archery, that's where we can do well because there's no strength and stamina involved.
Right. Yes. So at one point there was an injury.
Yes.
And for any sports person, an injury is a disaster in that sense. Right. And your grandmother was against you pursuing this career in in riding. So what if it was not, if you had listened to your grandmother and if you had not followed this, what do you think you would have done then?
It's a hard one because I only had one path, and I'm going to tell you another way because I know I'm differing from your answer. I will get back to your answer. But, I had another major failure as well, as the book will tell you, at another stage where, I was selected to represent India and they dropped me at the very last stage. Again, giving only snippets of the book. And somebody asked me, how did you get back? So it's a similar question. And my father asked me that time, what do you want? Because, I was so crushed. It was unbelievable. I was down and I'm like, I'm done. I'm just done with this whole thing because I took so much time and effort and hours and years into getting for this competition. And my first answer was, I want to represent India. And he said, well, that's it. Get back on a horse. So, it was so ingrained in me ever since I was young. That was my only option. I had nothing else. That's what my first answer was. My parents supported it. They could have also said at that time, you've done your best. You already competed. You've done the trials. You got selected. All right, politics happen. Things happen. Bureaucracy happened. You got dropped. You've at least done everything. Let's go into the business world. Get a business degree, get back into work or do something different. You achieved a goal. But that wasn't what their answer was. The answer, they looked back and they looked at me and said, if that's what you want, you got to go back. Fight for it.
That's a lesson for people like me, the parents, just them to follow their dream.
Yeah. Because it's so important in this book on that. That's why I keep stressing. It's not about the things to tell parents, let their kids be who they want to be, but push them. Not that, let them sit and say, no, they're doing their own as well. You have to still support them, but not just by giving them things, but actually direction. They have to have a little bit of a push.
So Imtiaz, like this book has been in that sense interesting. And when you bring this up, I just want to, because it's a conversation. I'm pressing a bit. But, today when you look at it, education, if you look at it, I was just reading this up and more the studies show you that the way of education that we knew is so redundant in today's day and age. Right. Because for us, education was getting to know the information, the memorizing of it and everything. But today, it's just not necessary. You can calculate on your phone. You have the Siri, which is going to answer your questions in a snap of a minute. It's not going to cost you anything to get that knowledge. So then what? So obviously there is something that is very different from the way we were educated and the way our kids are getting educated. But somewhere we are still pursuing certain things. And, because like I said, my son is turning 16 now. So this is something that one keeps trying to remind oneself that, know what are his dreams might seem like, oh my God, how is that even possible? Or I need to keep saying that this is a different world. Education doesn't matter anymore. Right. It doesn't matter what college you're getting into. What really matters is the happiness of the child. And here you are telling me that at that point of time, your parents did exactly that. They let you follow your happiness, your dream, and look at what it turned out. So I think universe is sending me a message today.
No, because it's true. And this was like 20 years ago, for my parents to do something like that. You have social pressures there, there were socialites in Mumbai. Everybody asked them, what is your son doing? And he's like, well, he's riding horses, They're like, oh my God, what a spoiled kid, But it wasn't that. I mean, I was working I was really working extremely hard. I was up in the morning at 4:30 every morning.
While the other kids are going to Ivy League colleges, you were.
or not, or they weren't, just sitting out there going to college, saying they're going to college, but they didn't have a passion, didn't have a drive, didn't know what they were waking up to. I woke up every single morning, know exactly what I wanted. I knew this is where I needed to be, and I was so far behind everybody else, so I had to work even harder. Coming from India, we didn't have the exposure.
Right. As we talk about universe now sending me a message, in the same way, somewhere I feel you say that, like the universe conspired to give you mentors.
Yes.
And you found mentors on the way, which you were probably not expecting. Can you elaborate on that a little?
So I think, this is something that's really lacking in India as well, because everybody wants to be a coach, or everybody wants to tell you, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. But in the true sense of mentors, we don't have that many. When we're young, we have parents. When we grow older, we have school, we have our teachers. But after that, you're a bit lost. So I was very, very fortunate. Of course, I had Diana, who was like my guiding, like an angel had come down, for me from 11 years old. And because it was not only writing, in everything aspect. If I made a move or decision, even at school, I would send her, I would ask her first, because it was an unbiased opinion. It was black and white, and it was honest. How parents are, they'll always tell you, you can do it this way, because they're protecting you, which is in a way, that's their way of showing love. So it's really important. Now, when I went overseas and I was thrown out, I was like a small fish in this huge sea, I was very lucky to find such amazing people who I could trust 100%, who had my interest as their most important thing. So it was not about money, not about saying, what can we sell him a horse, or, what can we get out of this boy? It's come from India. You know what I mean? There was no transaction at all. It was always just from the goodness of their heart to say, how can we make him the best that he wants to be? And that's the truth.
So also, there are more passages which I can read out, but I'm not going to do that. But it was during one of the games when they were introducing you, and then they spoke about you, and what did they say? They said was one of the nicest person, right? Am I right in that? In what I'm saying? So when what I want to get at is that when they say one of the nicest person, see, that is what that was the energy you were putting out, and that's why you found those mentors that you found.
True.
Passion in wanting to do what you wanted to do. The whole the pureness of intent of just getting and realizing and learning is probably what gave you this. Is what I'm trying to understand.
Absolutely.
All of us are on the path of trying to understand how do we navigate this journey, and maybe this could be the way. When you look back, what do you think?
Absolutely, it's humility. It's about being, when you want something which is for the right reasons, the truth comes out. If you had it because I wanted it, because I wanted fame, I wanted it because I wanted to get rich, I wanted it because I wanted to do something, then it doesn't. It falls through.
So in
People
one
see
line,
the cracks.
what that you wanted?
Sorry.
In one line, what is it that you wanted?
I wanted to just
fame. You didn't want the money. What is it that?
To be honest, the only thing I really wanted was to represent India. I mean, my main thing was that there hasn't been an Indian in equestrian at that level, and I just love it. I mean, I'm very nationalistic in that way. I'm sorry to say that, but like for me, flag, no, but it's just like when I see that flag flying, it just gives me goosebumps. I just feel, wow, look at that. And for equestrian, it's even more, because there are all these international flags. I'm the only rider, and when I see that India flag there, I know that flag is flying because of me. So all the more reason I have to do justice to that flag.
Yeah, it's this, it's amazing to do that. It's not an easy sport, and it is an expensive sport, know. So yes, it is not something that you see. Though we've had, we have had a lot of polo players and stuff like that happening from India, and we do have, that culture also in certain part of India. But you're right about this as a sport, the equestrian sport. There's really not been much in that, and you are in the you're the shining lamp in that department where this is concerned. What I wanted to ask you was that you said that when you bought your first horse and he broke his ankle.
Yes.
Yeah, in almost immediately, and there was something or the other that kept happening at that kind of a period. What is it that kept you going?
I think, again, people coming into my life, like when the day that horse broke down, and I was shattered. I just didn't know what to do. You're sitting out there all alone. You have no friends. You have no family. You're all alone in a stable where I was working. I was like just a working student, slogging to pay for my riding lessons at that time. I was totally crushed. But then another angel came in, like Beverly MacArthur, a senior senator, from in Australia. I had gone to college there. Her husband was, was a senator as well, and he was on the board of the college. So we had got to know each other, and she just made a call to me. She said, "So how are you doing, and how is everything? How is Australia teaching you?" And I told her what happened. She said, "Oh my God, I'm coming tomorrow to pick you up." And she just drove 3.5 hours, put all my stuff in her car, and she said, "You're going to stay in my house from now on, and we're going to do this together." So how could I ever say no? How could I ever back off? There was no option. I'm like, oh my God, now I've got somebody else I've got to prove a point. You know what I mean?
That is amazing.
Yes. So things like this, whenever I was about to slip, somebody came like from bottom and held me and said, no, we're all here. You keep climbing. You cannot get off this ladder. You have to reach the top. So we are not going to let you fall. So even though I wanted to fall sometimes I wanted to jump off the ladder. They didn't allow it.
So in your case, it is like, was it the perseverance or was it the luck? Was it the destiny? What was it? It is also mixed up. I mean,
everything. You got to read the book and find out what do you think it was. That's the X factor comes out of the book.
Yes, absolutely. You've asked a question. Should I stay with the perfect job, the perfect employer, the perfect setup at Nanoli, or to give it up to chase an Olympic dream? That's the question you asked. I think everyone from all professions in life can identify with this.
Yes.
We all come to a point where we say, everything is safe. We are in a comfort zone. We've got everything that we need. And, how do I kind of chuck everything and just kind of follow this thing, which God knows where I'm going to go. Just basically getting out of your comfort zone to try and get to your goal or your dream or whatever you would call it. What is the advice that you would give to people then?
My main advice to them is that I'm going to give it in two angles. For those who are the supporting staff, support and don't be negative. I never had anybody question me. My family, my friends, nobody ever said, no, don't do it. You've got a safe job. So you must stick with your safe job. They all said, what do you want? So that was really, because otherwise they put doubt in your mind, but what about this? What if it doesn't work? What if you got a good job here, then you leave it for your dream, and after 2 years you don't have a dream, you won't have a job. All these things, I never had those things on my mind. My family just came together and said, you've got a perfect place, you love it, you're with horses, but what do you want? What does your heart say? And, I just feel
the
my
support
heart
the support line that you've said is, I think, $1 million line, because it's just so important. I mean, right now also when I'm asking you this question, I'm thinking of you and you giving up something and going there. But the fact is that how many times does this, our friends ask us, our kids ask us, sometimes our siblings ask us, and how many times have we stood there and said, what do you want?
Yes.
That is the key. Oh my God. Thank you. Another message.
Yes. Absolutely. And also then there has to be a path, not just, this is what I want, and then just sit on a chair and say, well, it's going to wait for me to happen, So it was, what is your plan? How are you going to achieve this? Of course, then Diana was phoned and, put on the phone call as well. And she said, what do you think? Can he do it? We don't know much about the sport. We don't know what, you got him into it. You better support him now, And she was by then she had already moved back to England. So even from England, she was keeping in touch with me. Even when I was in Australia, she used to fly from England to Australia on her own just to train me.
Wow.
Because she said, no, I got this 11-year-old boy. I cannot leave him on his own now. There are people out there who are ruthless as well. There are lots of other, they're bad people, all kinds of people. She said, no, I have to protect him. So she would be there. And so I had that all the time. I had people like this support me everywhere, So when this thing happened of this big job change, and also the people like Nanoli was one of my big sponsors then, because Mr. Danji Boy, he actually owned the firm. And he himself said, this is what you want. You should go and do it. And I will support you doing it. Because that's what you desire, So what's the, so that was also lovely to have so much support from so many people. I couldn't let them down. That's why I didn't take a day off. I got up every single morning and ran even harder because I knew what I was carrying on my back. Not though just the 1 billion people in India, but also the personal connections.
I have to say, what came first, the chicken or the egg? You get the support because you were this hardworking, dedicated boy who never took a day off and worked his ass off in that sense. Yes. Or is it because you got the support that you continue to do that? Now, that's a question that I think we as readers need to look at, and I think all of us at, because I don't think we can decide on exactly. No. I do feel that for you to get the kind of support you got, there had to be something that your mentors, that your employers had to have seen in you to have come out with that kind of a dedication on and support. So What came first, the egg or the chicken? We shall let that question remain where you're concerned also, as to what is it that got you that support. So you spoke about how, you got your, the bit on that portion where you won your place in the Asian Games on merit, and it was taken away from unfairly and all of that. And I'm not going to get into that too much, because I really think that we want to read it and, let them read this bit out, but I mention it because we all go through that times where we've been talking about how you got mentors, you got support, you had a family, you could play, you were a part of a sport which was an expensive sport, but you could do it. But in that all thing, there are these points where you got it on merit, but it was taken away unfairly. So there have been unfair moments, there have been those trials and tribulations, which I'm just kind of mentioning over here so that our readers, our members know that, there is more to it, and it's not just, that you need to read and kind of get it there. In any case, with all this happening, how did this affect your health? Let me look at it, and I'm not going to talk about that incident, but how did it affect your health?
It didn't affect my health at all. So, again, then comes the boarding school time, when you were down, you were lonely, I was only 12 years old, crying, and I used to literally cry every night because I was so homesick and I missed home. So it made you stronger and stronger. So over the years, it made you resilient. So when things like this happen, it's that foundation that helped me. So it's all interrelated. That's why when people look back, that's why I even included my boarding school years in the book, because it's such a strong base of who I was. I was such a timid boy. I would crumble, I would cry on the drop of a hat. I wasn't strong. I wasn't really a tough person. I just wasn't also ran in everything I did. So really, boarding school brought that out of me, and it helped me in good stead all through my life. So it's those sort of things that actually, when you look back, the second thing is, again, when you're in such a situation, I didn't let it. The people around me didn't allow it to get me mental. So they didn't play it again. But now look at this, what the sport has done, or this, bringing the negatives at all. There was no negativity around me at all, and that's what I would like to tell people. When you read the book, you'll see the amount of negative things that did happen. I still didn't have any negativity around me. Everybody just kept saying, "Happens, move on. Happens, move on. Get tough. Let's go." And that's why sport is so important in today's life. And I keep telling parents, it's not about just going down to the garden and playing, or going to the club and having a one game of tennis. No, make it a little bit more than that, so that it actually teaches these kids later on in life, whether they play or they don't play, doesn't matter, but it teaches them so much: comradeship, friendship, teamwork, punctuality, all those things which you don't learn from school. Just like how you said, how schools have changed now, going to school, 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4. By rote we were taught. Much more. Everybody can get the information. Everybody's smart and everybody can Google it. So what makes you separate? What makes you different is the fact that you're punctual, you're polite, you're on time, you're well dressed, you're resilient, you show up. Those sort of things that push you on the plate. Absolutely.
And that's what probably got you the mentors that they in any case. Anyway, so after that, there was, you were eventually you did make it to the Olympics, and I'm going to leave that for the book now. We're not going to talk. I do want them to read it. What I want to ask you is that what next now?
Well, my next goal is I've started my own equestrian center. So I wouldn't say due to the pandemic, but it's always been my wish to come back to India, because I think it's time to give back. I've already achieved. I was fortunate enough, even after the Olympic Games, to compete at the World Championships, and in Spain. Again, I was the very first Indian to do that. So I've really done a lot of firsts. First civilian to be at the Asian Games, then Olympic. So I've already set these targets, which are quite high. So I thought now is a good time to come back to India. So I've started my own stables. It's a boutique stable where we train riders. We've already got a couple of national level riders training with me from all over, from Delhi, from Chandigarh, from Pune, from Bombay. They're about 3 hours away from Mumbai. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Actually, it's very secluded. It's right on in Gujarat, but just on the border. And we have our training centers on the beach side. So we train on the beach every morning.
Oh my God, how beautiful.
So every morning the horses are ridden on the beach. If the days off, we take them for a swim. They go into water therapy. The days we jump, after jumping, we put them straight into the salt water. So it's just wonderful. But it's about, again, what we talked about, the life. It's about not just the riding lesson. They've got to feed the horses, brush the horses, groom the horses, be a part of that whole thing for these national level riders.
you have like a boarding school for training
Yes,
athletes?
we have a accommodation for the athletes to stay, but also we have it for families because I want to introduce the sport to as many people. So just like yourself, which I hope you will come one day with your son. So even those who have never ridden or you've never sat on a horse, you can spend the weekend here and actually learn something new, a new sport, and never know where you're going to take it up or not. So it's not only for the top level or national level sportsmen, but also for a lot of mother and daughters come just to spend time with their animal and themselves. Father and kids come. So there's no combination at all. It's just a matter of spreading what this sport can do for us outside just,
Okay, I have one question for you.
Yes.
How young do you need to be to get onto the horse?
This is a lovely question. I'm so glad you asked this because there is no age, even at the Olympic Games. Right now, today, we have a 60-year-old competing at the Olympic Games. Yes, absolutely. Even competing at the international level, you need experience in a sport. Like in most other sports, your career is over when you're 20, 25. You know what I mean? While here, it starts at 30. Most of the top athletes are all in their 40s. That's in our sport because there's so much experience required. In fact, Australia has got riders who are 50, 55, 60-year-old lady who's riding for Australia. So age has got nothing to do with it. Absolutely not. Even to learn to ride, you can start at any age. So definitely come.
What sort of fitness level do you need to be at to start riding?
No, general. I mean, I think you should be generally fit. I mean, as long as you're walking and you're doing something, I mean, it's absolutely, it's not like a running or it's not like a physical. To learn to ride, you don't have to be. As long as if you want to pursue it later on, yes, you got to stay a little bit fitter. But generally riding is like any other sport. In fact, it's less than playing tennis or playing, it's a bit like golf. You go for a walk, you ride, you sit on a horse, and you can take as many breaks as you like. So it's not like or like another sport where like swimming, when you swim one end you have to swim all the way back. So in riding you can if you need a break you
level
stop.
Of endurance to start riding or anything?
No, not at all.
As long as you are just kind of mobile and walking around and all of that independent, you can get on a horse. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, I think this is an interesting thing. And, they say that the moment you start learning something new in life, new pathways form in your brain and maybe...
And it's fantastic therapy also to be with horses. I mean, they teach you so much because they're calm and relaxed and lovely horses, So even during the evening when you want to go for a walk, you go stroll...
What about the horses that throw you off? They don't seem calm and relaxed.
No, you have a few of those badly managed ones. We don't have any. We train them. So they're all trained. I always tell, be safe first. Wear a helmet, wear the right gear and be safe.
Okay. Now that sounds interesting. And this school of yours, what is the school called?
It's called Seahorse Equestrian Training. So you can go on Facebook, you can go on Insta. There are lots of lovely pictures, and you have a great time. That's for sure. You really enjoy it.
How many people can come in at a given time? How many does this place take?
No, we can take as many as you like because it's about riding. We try and give individual attention. So and due to the pandemic as well, we don't do large groups right now. So if a family's coming, then I won't have another 2 families coming unless they know each other. So every weekend we have different families coming, and during the week we have the more serious competitors who actually stay with us for longer periods. They stay a month or they stay for 2 months with me. So then those are kept on separately. And then the weekend traffic, we try and keep it to smaller groups because of the pandemic.
So how many horses do you have in your stable right now?
We have 12 horses.
Amazing. So Imtiaz, all the very best for this. And, from just getting to your dreams. And I think you're making newer dreams. And definitely this love for horses, you've taken it forward in very much of a different way. You've achieved your goal, and here you are now helping others get to their goal, understand their goals, and kind of, just figure out the process to do it. And I think you're being Dinah in somebody else's life in that way, and that's amazing. Really wish you all the very best. And once again, before we end, here's the book. It's called Riding Free, My Olympic Journey by Imtiaz Anees. And yes, definitely a must read. Even if you're not a sports person, I think this is just a good read for anybody who has dreams. And this is a good life lesson. Thank you so much for joining us in Sonali's Book Club's conversation. And hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Stop riding. I'm going to try it once.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Yes, absolutely. On many people's bucket list. So if you're going to do it, come to Seahorse Equestrian and do it. But thank you again for having me and being able to spread.
I'm going to do it there.
look forward to
Also, I have to tell you that, he's got this wonderful wife who cooks very well.
it.
Amazing food. So I'm tempted by that also.
Absolutely. You'll get the
Maybe
food
I'll
and the ride.
and eat some fabulous food. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much. Nice meeting you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.